Hello, guys. Welcome to the show. Listen, glad to have you guys here. This is my opinion piece on Brexit and on North Korea. It's my opinion only, so take it for what it's worth. I think first I'll start with Brexit. Now, there's an old thing. Your enemies. It's an old strategy from way back. I mean, this goes way back forever, is to buy time. Back in the ancient times when they were sieging a castle and stuff, the guys who were building the catapults and stuff, they would try to buy time. So that they could get their catapults in position and everything else. It's called buying time. Okay, let's get to Great Britain. Theresa May. This is my opinion only. I think that Theresa May was in back rooms doing deals with Tusk and with Juncker. Okay? And I don't think she's working in the interests, my opinion only, I don't think she's working in the interests of Great Britain, of the United Kingdom. I think what's going on is I think she's working in the interests of the European Union, Juncker, and her buddies, Juncker and Tusk. Okay? And I think that they've been stalling and trying to buy time. I think that they all cooked up this deal, this monstrosity of a deal, knowing full well that the United Kingdom would turn the deal down, that it wouldn't go through Parliament. I think they knew that, and they wanted to make it bad so it wouldn't go through. And they knew all along that it wouldn't pass through. I think that when she postponed the first vote, I think she postponed it for like 2 weeks. Buying time. I think right now, when they're not coming up with nothing, no plan B, nothing. Buying time. Meanwhile, we're marching toward this hard Brexit. I think that's the plan. To punish Great Britain all along. To punish her. Bring her to her knees. So that all of the other member states of the European Union will look in awe and say, oh, look at what happened to Great Britain. We'll never try to sign an Article 50. Okay? Put them all in their place. Give Great Britain a spanking. I think that's what's going on here. And I think she's working. She's in it with them. That's what I think. It's my opinion only. I think she's in on it. In on it all. And I think they're still buying time. They're buying time while Britain is in the barrel floating toward Niagara Falls. So, what's the danger of the hard Brexit? What'll happen? Well, the people in Britain are all stockpiling food and everything else. They think that they're all going to starve to death or whatever. I don't think that's going to happen at all, my opinion only. I think what you're going to actually see happen is profound inflation. I think that's going to be the punishment. Profound inflation. And the kind of inflation I'm talking about, it's not going to be immediate. It's not going to be the very next day after the hard Brexit. I don't think there's going to be any starvation in the country. I don't think there's going to be any need to stockpile food. I think there'll be food enough. The only thing is will you be able to pay for it? What you're going to see is basically nothing happen. You'll see the hard Brexit happen on the 29th. We're heading right toward it, and I think that's what they want. And so they're going to get what they want. They're going to force Great Britain into the hard exit. And then when they go over the cliff and the waterfall, you're not going to see nothing happen. The first month or so, it's going to be like a tempest in a teacup. Nothing. But then, you're going to see the pound start to take a beating in the markets. And the pound's going to fall in value, especially initially. This is because these guys control the markets. They're going to use this hard Brexit as an excuse to really hit the pound hard. on the currency markets. And so you'll see the pound fall in value. Initially, it's going to be big, and then it's going to continue a slow decline of the pound later. But for the first month or two, you won't see the consumer price inflation. You're going to see the inflation hit after you get 2 or 3 months in. And it's going to be inflation like you've never seen before, and it's going to hit you right in the pocketbooks. All the people in Britain, it's going to hit them right in the pocketbook. Because every time you go to the grocery store to buy that steak, it's going to be 10% higher. The next week, it'll be 10% higher again. You're going to see really, really high inflation. And this is the target, to hit the people of Great Britain in the pockets, to make them all poorer. So after a year goes by after the Brexit, the hard Brexit, you're going to see a massive amount of people that are very, very upset with the inflation that has brought them, and they're going to blame it on the hard Brexit, and they're going to blame it on trying to leave the European Union. And this is exactly what these guys want, these characters want, these unelected bureaucrats. This is exactly what they want. The guys in Brussels, this is what they want. And then other nations will look and say, look at what happened to Britain economically. Oh, too bad. So buying time. They're buying time to get us to March 29th without nothing happening, without anything positive happening. In other words, no real plan B. Nobody's going to come up with a plan B. That's actually there. And if they do come up with something, say somebody comes up with a brainstorm and a wonderful idea for plan B, they're going to say, oh, that won't work. That won't work. Try again. Come back again some other time with another plan. This is what they're pulling. Now, that's my opinion on a Brexit. Now I'm going to get into North Korea. Same tactic. Buying time. First off, I didn't open the charts. I'm going to open the charts now, and right here. I'm going to open the charts, and we're going to get in here, and we're going to take a look at North Korea. You know, the articles say North Korea obscures leaders from visits to missile development sites. Let me pull the charts in here so you can see this a little bit better. North Korea obscures leaders from visits to military development sites. You want to know why? A big think tank that are actually have access to data that we don't have. They know how many missiles North Korea's got. North Korea's got their missile factories working and missile development sites working full-time right now. That's why they don't want to let you in. They don't want you to let you in. They're obscuring the leaders from visits to missile development sites. The reason why is they're working on these missiles and nuclear weapons. Do you know what the think tank said? It said by 2020, which is only, 11 months from now, that North Korea is going to have 100 nuclear-tipped warheads ready to put on these missiles that they're building, these missiles that they're developing right now. Do you know why North Korea did all this peace, 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 oh, I want peace? And Kim Jong-un, he went to every country shaking hands and hugging people and everything else? Because we're a bunch of suckers over here in the West. When somebody waves a white flag, we say, oh, look, let's make a deal. You know, maybe they're good guys after all. Yeah. Meanwhile, they're in the building over there, building some sort of a weapon to use against you while they're waving the white flag. It's all a ruse. They're buying time. This think tank said that they'd have 100 thermonuclear weapons by 2020. Okay? Now, I did some research into North Korea, and I did shows like a year ago on North Korea, and I figured the amount of nuclear weapons that they had at the time was probably somewhere between maybe 8 and 15, somewhere in that area, you know, nuclear weapons that they had. But they've been building them fast. They got this one they called a peanut, you know. The thing is shaped like a giant peanut. I think it's 250 kilotons. They say it's a hydrogen weapon. I'm not so sure. But if it is not a hydrogen weapon, it's an extremely small, lightweight, powerful thermonuclear weapon. It is an atom weapon. It could very well be a very powerful atom weapon because it's measured in kilotons. Generally, thermonuclear hydrogen-type weapons are measured in megatons. Kilotons, 1,000 tons of TNT, and a megaton is 1,000,000 tons of TNT. It was measured at somewhere, I think, 250 kilotons, which is a quarter of 1 megaton. And that's getting on the rather large size of an atomic weapon. So if it is a regular atomic weapon, it's a rather large one. Much bigger than the one dropped on Hiroshima. Okay? And it's very small and lightweight, and he can put it in even one of his smaller missiles. Okay? And he was building them wide open, building them as fast as he could, called a peanut. And that was like a year ago. Okay? He's got these factories over there, and they got the Koreans. And I'm going to tell you what the Koreans are hard workers. And especially when he's got his whip on their back. If they don't perform in his factories, Kim Jong-un, they're going to be out there and they're going to be doing something that they don't want to be doing. You know, I mean, he might put them out in the hot sun and have them digging all day in the hot sun or something like that. I mean, this is a totalitarian regime in North Korea. Never forget it. Just because they sue for peace does not mean that most of the people there work in terrible conditions. They grow their food. They put human waste on their food. There's intestinal worms galore because they spread human waste on their fields, and they grow tomatoes and stuff. And there's the parasitic organisms all over the tomatoes and stuff, and it gets in around the stems and everything else. And all it takes is a tiny little egg for one of these parasitic organisms to grow in your intestines. And these eggs are so small, they're almost microscopic, you know, and they just spread it from one, and so they're half sick, full of intestinal worms. One of the ones from North Korea, the soldiers, tried to escape last year, and he made it across the DMZ zone, the demilitarized zone, and they shot him a couple times, and one of the shots hit his intestines and everything else, and they took him into the hospital, and there's worms coming out of him. Big, angry-looking worms. You know, and the doctors in South Korea are extremely good doctors, and they were able to fix this guy up pretty quick, you know, and they did a great job on him. I think he's still in South Korea. I mean, and he's probably a very nice man. Because I think the people in North Korea are actually probably very hardworking, very diligent, and they're probably very nice people. It's a totalitarian regime that's there, that's going to control that whole region of the Pacific very soon. They're going to be a threat, an extreme threat to Seoul, South Korea. They've got nothing less in their mind than making a unified Korea, North Korea being the leader of North and South Korea. And this is what they got on their mind. Also, very good friends. North Korea is very good friends with China, and China is very good friends with Russia, and they're all good buddies with Iran. Okay? They're not our friends over here. They really want North Korea actually would like to exterminate us with thermonuclear weapons. This is what they'd like to do. China doesn't really want to do that so much. China wants to bring us to our knees into poverty and then have us impoverished and us doing a reverse trade. China built everything over here in China and sent it to America. Okay, they want to do a reverse trade of that. This is what China wants to do. They want to have the factories in America. They want to have America poor, have us working the slave labor, and them being the ones who are buying everything. They want to turn their economy, instead of a factory-based economy, they want to turn it into a consumer economy. And they want to be the #1 consumers in the world. How are they going to do that, you ask? Well, they're stockpiling gold. They know that there's a financial crisis coming. They've got these 1 kilogram gold bars. They've got dozens and dozens and dozens of them laying around everywhere in China. I mean, tons and tons and tons of gold. They not only take their own production and turn it all in. They don't export anything in gold, and they have tremendous gold mining capability. So they accumulate that way. They also accumulate by buying on the open market. So does Russia. So Russia and China is linked together. They both got massive amounts of gold. When the financial system collapses, neither of those countries want cryptocurrency to take the place of gold. They don't want that to happen. It was the People's Bank of China, the PBOC, who attacked Bitcoin the other year when Bitcoin was $1,100. They brought Bitcoin to its knees. They brought it down to like $140, I think it was at its lowest. And that was all the People's Bank of China. That shows the People's Bank of China the hatred for cryptocurrencies. And the reason why is they do not want cryptocurrency to take the limelight away from gold. They're planning, and their plan for Russia and China is to make a new gold standard and to back their currencies with gold, very possibly. Also, at a certain point when they close the door, they're going to reset the price of gold. And basically, they're going to point their finger at the West and they're going to say, you haven't got any to sell us. You want to do arbitrage? Fine, go ahead. You haven't got any left. We got it all over here. We're going to set the price what we want it to be. And this is their plan. And the thing is then revalue gold much higher. And what does that do to the dollar? Especially if they back their own currencies with gold. Personally, I don't believe there's any gold in Fort Knox. And if there is all this gold out in the Grand Canyon, I want to see it. I think that's all just rumors. I don't think there's much gold over here in the West. I think it's all been shipped east. A huge chunk of it anyway. Let's put it this way. Enough of it to make the difference for what they're planning to do. This is why they hate cryptocurrencies. Because cryptocurrency could actually outshine gold. And they know it. And cryptocurrency didn't come about by chance. The guys who actually really created cryptocurrency probably knew that the Chinese's plan was years ago. And this was probably part of the reason why they got involved in the first place at creating an alternative to the gold that the Chinese and the Russians were planning on using to take us down with. Bitcoin being the alternative. It's all financial warfare. That's what it is. It's financial warfare. And ultimately, in the end, we end up being the losers. So now we're heading face first toward a terrible situation for the West. And the Chinese and the Russians are just sitting back there and they are creating alternatives to the dollar so that they can change. China wants to be a consumer country and they want us to work in the slave factories, the sweatshops, building products for them so that they can purchase the products with their super currency backed by gold. Or, if not that, a destroyed U.S. dollar, a dollar that's not worth very much anymore. And all of this is coming about right under our noses, and North Korea is almost like some sort of a militaristic extension of China. It's like, okay, North Korea is not China, but whatever China says, North Korea does. Do you remember when Kim Jong-un left to visit China? That's when this whole big deal of a peace stuff started. He made a visit to Beijing, right? And it was very shortly thereafter we had the Olympics and all that. It was very shortly thereafter this whole peace thing started. He come away from China, and then he started to work on this new plan where he was going around shaking everybody's hand and hugging everybody. And he started to travel out of his country and go to other places, and he was acting more like a dignitary, more like a what's the name for it? An ambassador to the world, And he was like a recluse before, and all of a sudden he's the ambassador, and he's running around, shaking everybody's hand after he goes to Beijing. What's up with that? Buying time so that North Korea can be like the controlling force, the bad boy, you know, and China can sit back and say, we didn't do it. We're good guys. We're good guys. North Korea did it. North Korea, little brother did it. You know, they just gave little brother a giant gun, you know? And how hard is it for them to give North Korea thermonuclear weapons even? They're on the piggyback on the back of a big truck. These ICBMs with thermonuclear warheads on them. What did we see them North Koreans coming out in the parade with? It sure did look like Chinese missiles on Chinese trucks. Okay, and they were ICBMs, and they were big suckers. Where did they come from? They weren't the normal North Korean warhead. In the parade, when it first happened there about a year or two ago, they called them Franken missiles because they said, we never seen anything like them before. Well, I've done shows comparing them to the Chinese DF-47. I think it's a DF-47. Anyway, sometimes I forget the numbers. I think it's a DF-47, the Chinese missile, that's got a cluster of 10 warheads in the head of it. It's called a MIRV, multiple reentry vehicle. It's got 10 warheads in it. It can strike 10 cities. It can go halfway around the earth. It can not just strike the west coast of the United States. It can strike the east coast. It can strike anywhere in the United States. Take out 10 cities. There was 4 of them in Kim Jong-un's parade. Where did they come from? That would be 40 nuclear warheads because each one carries 10. Where did they come from? Could they have just drove them across the Chinese border into North Korea? Could they? You know, I mean, people forget about that. I don't forget about that. I know he's got them because he showed them in his parade. Where did they come from? We're being swindled left and right. This was all about buying time so North Korea could get 100 more of these thermonuclear weapons so that they can get to the point where they're a nuclear power. And nobody can touch them at a certain point. You let them get to that point. I don't care. Donald Trump says, oh, we're going to have a space-based weapon system to protect America against these North Korean nuclear missiles. I'm going to tell you, if he launches 100 at us on ICBMs, we're lucky if we can take down 10. So that means 90's going to hit. I mean, what are people thinking? It's getting to the point now he's probably got, like if that think tank says that he's got 100 by the end of this year, he's probably got 50 now. I mean, he had probably 15 of them before a year or a year and a half ago. That's when we should have hit and knocked them out with a strategic strike. But now it might be too late. It might already be too late because he was buying time again. Buying time. These characters, you know? Listen, thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe. And remember, this was just my opinion only on what's going on out there. Bye-bye, guys.